What was some of those things that came up for you when you were like, I think these are things that I've been holding on to that I need to shed? What are some of those burdens?
I'm not a victim to this, but I do feel like I was in a way victimizing myself. But again, it sort of was more from the outside noise. I hate that I allowed other people to have that much control over the way I viewed myself. But I would say just from my past dating history, and a lot of them ended in cheating, or they weren't great situations at the end. But yes, I think even in the most private of times, if that happened and nobody publicly knew about it, there's still shame within your family. You feel embarrassed, like what did I do? You always make it about yourself. And that's okay, because hopefully you will get stronger and reflect and not make those same mistakes again. And for me, they happened repeatedly. And I was like, okay, this is about me. I'm either not paying attention, I'm sweeping something under the rug. Like, I really wanted to be so aware of what I was doing and let that go, but let the guilt and the shame of that go, because I, quote, allowed it to happen more than once. And I'm saying that because I didn't allow it to happen, but the narrative out there was like, well, you get what you get. Like, I should have known better. And yes, I probably should have, but I needed to learn that lesson. I know I carried so much shame and guilt where there would be times that I was like, I don't even want to go out to the grocery store and look at someone in the eyes, because I feel like I know what they're thinking about me. They probably don't know who I am. They probably have never heard this story, but the shame, this cloud I felt following me everywhere, that I don't know if it was even that big to other people, but I definitely felt like I was constantly surrounded by a gray cloud. I would limit myself from doing a lot of things and seeing a lot of people, because I felt such shame, where I was like, intentionally, no, I'm going to let this go. I have been alone for 3 years and I love it. Like, I'm scared.
Yeah.
Because I could do this for another 5 years and be so happy about it, but that's not normal. If you're not feeling accountable in some of the actions that you're making or what someone else is doing to you, that's okay. There will be a day that you will wake up. People are always so surprised that I'm not more cynical when it comes to love.
Yeah.
And they always ask, do you ever think you're going to get married again? And I go, yes.
There's so much maturity in what you're saying that requires so much. And something I want to kind of go into with you is this idea of, how do we take accountability but not take full responsibility? Right? It's that idea of, like, as you said, you can't blame yourself. And at the same time, you had to find a way to recognize you wanted to make better decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's such a fine line, because I think we go from saying, it's not my fault, it's everyone else's fault,
right,
to the being like, oh, it's all my fault, it's all me, I'm the one to blame, I did this to myself. How did you find that balance, which requires so much thoughtfulness and maturity, to actually get to that place where it's like, I'm going to take accountability to change my life, but I'm also going to recognize that this happened to me, but it wasn't about me, as you said. How do you get to that?
Well, the interesting part is, I think the very first time it happened, I didn't do that. And that's okay, because it's done.
Yeah.
And I also had to forgive myself for that. There was a time that I felt very guilty. Like, why did I even stay? Why am I not forgiving myself? I would blame myself for everything. And then the second time, my surrogate was still pregnant with Tatum, and the people didn't know yet that I was having Tatum, but I felt such shame that it was happening again, because I knew better.
Yeah. I mean, as I'm listening to you, I'm just thinking about the amount of people that are probably listening to you right now thinking, Khloe, I had that fantasy too. And you had the courage, even though at one point, as you said, you were kind of, why did I stay that long? Or why did I keep doing that? And you had to forgive yourself for that. But I think a lot of people don't know how to know when something's no longer serving them. And as I'm listening to you, I'm listening to someone who's saying, I finally got to a point where I realized this fantasy wasn't serving me. It was keeping me here. We can't speed it up.
No.
We can't rush ourselves to it. You can't be forced to it.
No, and that's what I mean. I think people also need to be patient with themselves. Like if you're not feeling accountable in some of the actions that you're making or what someone else is doing to you, that's okay. There will be a day that you will wake up. And listen, if I was watching me when I was in my 20s, I would be judging that person too and being like, she's so stupid. It's going to happen again. I don't blame people for their judgment. I think with life comes great wisdom and life experiences. And if my story helped anybody else feel less alone, because it's such an isolating feeling, you feel like you're on this island and it doesn't happen to anybody else. And sadly, it does. And I know so many people that stay longer than I did. And not that it's right, but you have to let go when you really feel like you're ready. Or I think that person will always feel like, well, what if and this? And I really just like to live my life in this. No, I'm solid in that action. I'm solid in that choice that I made.